In the quiet town of Ashgrove, there lived a boy named Eli Wren, 12 years old, thin, curious, and never without a notebook. He wasn't like other kids. While his classmates played football or scrolled through their phones, Eli spent hours exploring the forest behind his grandmother's house. The townsfolk often whispered about those woods. They said it was enchanted, though most meant it as a joke. But Eli believed there was something truly alive in there. Every step he took among the trees, he swore he could hear faint whispers. Leaves that rustled without wind, roots that pulsed like veins, and sometimes, when the sun dipped low, he could almost feel eyes watching him. Kind eyes, patient, ancient. His grandmother would always warn him, "Don't wander too deep. Eli, the forest remembers what people forget." He never really understood what that meant. Not until that one strange afternoon, the day the oak appeared. It was late summer. The sky hung heavy with clouds that looked ready to burst. Eli was wandering deeper than usual, chasing a blue butterfly that shimmered like glass. He followed it over roots and through ferns until he stumbled into a part of the forest he'd never seen. There, standing proudly in a clearing, was a massive oak tree. Its trunk was thicker than any Eli had ever seen. Its bark twisted like rope, rough yet somehow graceful. And at its base, near the roots, was something impossible. A soft, glowing hollow, pulsing with blue light. Eli dropped to his knees, curiosity blooming like fire inside him. He reached out to touch the light, but his hand didn't meet bark. It passed right through. He gasped and stumbled back, heart pounding. The air around him shimmered faintly. The sound of wind died. Even the birds went silent. He felt the forest watching him. "Just a peek," he whispered, half to himself, and then he leaned in. The world flipped. Eli felt weightless, spinning through a tunnel of blue light. There was wind, laughter, the sound of running water, and then stillness. He landed on something soft, grass that glowed faintly beneath him. When he lifted his head, he gasped. He wasn't in Ashgrove anymore. Above him stretched a sky of twilight, painted with silver and violet, dotted with floating lights that moved like fireflies. The air shimmered with color. Every tree sparkled faintly, every petal hummed with life. Eli turned in awe. "Where am I?" a voice answered behind him. "You're in the between." He spun around, and there she stood, a girl, or something like one. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her hair a cascade of silver strands that floated as though under water. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. "Who are you?" Eli asked, breathless. "I am Lyra," she said softly. "And you? You're the first human to cross over in many lifetimes." Lyra smiled gently and beckoned him to follow. They walked through the glowing forest, each step revealing a new marvel. Mushrooms as tall as trees, their undersides glowing like lanterns. Foxes with crystal antlers darting between the roots. Waterfalls that fell upward, glittering into the air. And bridges woven from light. "Everything here feels alive," Eli whispered. "Because it is," Lyra said. "This world breathes, dreams, and remembers. It's what exists between your world's thoughts and its memories." She looked at him curiously. "Humans once came here often, when they still listened. When they still believed?" Eli frowned. "Believed in what?" "In wonder," Lyra replied, her voice tinged with sadness. "But your world has forgotten." They came to a clearing where glowing roots formed a circle around a pool of silver water. Lyra knelt beside it and placed her hand on the surface. The reflection rippled, revealing flickering visions, children laughing, forests blooming, stars being born. "The between is a bridge," she explained. "It connects what is real to what could be. When people dream, some of their thoughts wander here. But lately," she looked up at him, her eyes dimming. "Your world's dreams have grown quiet. The between is fading." Eli stared into the pool, watching the light flicker. "Can't it be saved?" "Perhaps," Lyra said, "if someone remembers." As they explored further, Eli found he could hear things. Whispers in the trees, songs in the river, laughter in the wind. It was like the world itself spoke to him, and he began to understand. He realized this place wasn't a fantasy. It was the memory of magic, the part of the world humans had left behind. He wanted to stay forever, to run through glowing meadows, to hear Lyra's laugh, to live where nothing hurt and everything sang. But Lyra's smile grew somber. "Eli," she said one day, "the between is not meant for humans. Stay too long and it will take you." He looked at his hands. They were faintly transparent, his skin shimmering like light through water. "What's happening to me?" "You're fading," she said. "You belong above. The between is calling you back." Tears welled in Eli's eyes. "I don't want to forget this." "You won't," Lyra said, "if your heart stays open." She reached into the air and pulled out a small silver leaf, glowing with blue veins. "Take this. When you forget how to listen, hold it close." The sky above began to tremble. The trees hummed louder, their roots glowing brighter. Lyra led him back to the oak tree, only now its roots seemed to rise from the ground like living veins of light. "Will I ever see you again?" Eli asked. "Perhaps," Lyra whispered. "If your world remembers ours. If you remember me." She placed her hand on his cheek. "Goodbye, wanderer between worlds." And with that, she pushed him gently toward the light. Eli fell through the hollow, a rush of wind, a flash of blue, and then he was back in Ash Grove. He lay on the forest floor, sunlight filtering through the leaves. The oak loomed above him, ordinary now, silent. The hollow was gone. For a moment, he thought it was all a dream. Then he felt something in his hand, the silver leaf, still glowing faintly. Years passed. Eli grew up. He left Ash Grove, went to college, got a job in the city, but the world outside never felt quite real anymore. The buildings were tall but lifeless. The air buzzed with noise but no music. Every night he'd take the silver leaf from its box and hold it close. It never lost its glow. And sometimes when the city lights dimmed, he swore he could still hear Lyra's voice whisper through the wind. "The between is waiting." One autumn evening, when the city sky was red and restless, Eli drove back to Ash Grove. The town was quieter now, smaller somehow. His grandmother's house stood empty, its windows clouded with dust. He walked into the woods again, older, heavier, but with the same childlike hope stirring in his chest. The trees were taller, but the path felt familiar. He followed it until he reached the clearing. The oak tree still stood there. And this time, the hollow glowed once more. Eli smiled through tears. He took a breath and whispered, "I never stopped listening." Then he stepped forward and vanished into the light. They say that if you walk deep into the Ash Grove forest on a still night, you can hear laughter echoing between the trees, a boy's laughter, and the soft voice of a girl made of moonlight. They say the between still exists, hidden beneath roots and rain and memory, waiting for the next soul brave enough to believe.